This is Unit 6 of my Introduction to Marketing Full Semester Curriculum, and in this unit, we're talking about the marketing mix, also known as the 4Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. The essential question, this is what I hope my students can answer by the end of this unit, is as follows. How do businesses use product, price, place, and promotion decisions to support a successful marketing strategy? The objective is that my students will be able to analyze how the 4Ps of marketing influence customer decisions and support a successful marketing strategy. As with all of my other units, I do provide you with a teacher guide, and it's slated for 5 days, but realistically, with any kind of work time that you provide the students in class, this is easily a 7-day unit. We open with some type of an anticipatory set to get students thinking. Would you still go? Why or why not? If, for example, this coffee shop, which is very aesthetic, was expensive and you knew it was, or perhaps it had slow service or a confusing menu, would any of those prohibit you from going to Brew and Company? It might have strong branding, it might have a cool storefront, and lots of customers are posting about it online. But if any of those hindrances, that price point or slow service or even confusing menu, would stop you, then it's something that you want to consider. So everybody's going to have a different answer, and it is worth noting because it's a high school class. Many students will probably say, "I don't care about the confusing menu," and then they'll probably, for my class, I'm sure they would roast on me and my generation for not understanding how to see the menu, but that's a different discussion. So the reason that people are going to answer different is because, well, maybe the product doesn't meet their need, or perhaps the high price point isn't what they're looking for, and they're looking for a cheaper price point, or the place is perhaps something that is out of the way, or promotion. Maybe it's the case that they don't really care about how it is that they receive promotion, or maybe they want to hear more social media types of promotion. All of these things are the marketing mix, and which of these would matter the most to you as a customer? And so in this case, using that same theme, we have the same drink. It's that same businesses, Elevate Coffee Company here. And it's a different product versus the truck stop coffee. It looks about the same. It's probably going to have the same effect. The Elevate Coffee Company has what they say to be quality ingredients, carefully handcrafted, comfortable space, an aesthetic appearance, and brand connection to their consumers. It's also $6.50 more expensive than the cup of coffee that does the exact same thing at the truck stop. It has the basic ingredients. It's quick, it's mass produced, it's functional in its space because they serve all kinds of other things. There's no brand experience. It's get in, get out, and the transaction just doesn't feel connected. It is you just fulfilling the desire to have a cup of coffee. So, what makes that $8 latte a different product? What are you actually paying for? The product is more than just the drink, it's the experience, it's the vibe, if you will. It's how that business makes you feel. So, then we get into a build a coffee shop type of breaking the class into an A group and a B group. And so half of the class is going to work together, and then the other half of the class will work together. And in this example, we need to market towards college students and remote workers. So these are the things that are important to them. It must be great coffee, comfortable space. They must have Wi Fi and an aesthetic atmosphere. Once I've broken the class into two halves, we'll then break each of those halves into four different quadrants. So one group of that half will be the product group, the next group will be price, another place, and the last one promotion. And each of those groups has a new experiment that they have to work on, a new piece of this project that they have to work on, knowing who the target market is, again, college students and remote workers, knowing what they need to come up with in their own different realms, drawing out the signature drink, pastry, cup, and packaging. How much is it going to cost, and what's the menu going to look like? What is the front of the store going to look like? And last, how will you promote it with like a flyer, an event, or special promotion? Once we are done with the time, and this is not a long winded project, this is kind of a quick deal. This is maybe 10 minutes at most. We come back together. I give the full four teams within one big team time to discuss and debrief what it is that they've created, make some last minute tweaks, and then we come and then both of the teams will pitch their coffee shop idea. Hopefully, there's some level of differentiation. And once we brought it together, we determine which coffee shop best matches that customer. And I am not above awarding some type of small gesture of incentive to the group that wins, such as like candy or whatever that might be. Now we move into the individualized functions of this marketing mix, which we open being the product. So the 4Ps are the parts of a business that the marketing team can control. Talking about the product, When we look at that coffee shop in that same example, they can control more than just the coffee. They can control the aesthetic. How is this stuff packaged? How is the product itself perceived within that consumer's mindset? So, what are we actually selling? Yes, the product is the thing that you're selling, but you're selling an experience. It's the whole item, the whole entire product itself. Have you ever opened some type of new technology? For example, I use an Apple iPhone. I know that when I open it, it's almost difficult to take the lid off of that new packaging. Like it has got this suction that feels like quality. That's got a silky exterior. You can see that the matte white is of a quality sheen as well. It's that first impression to show how the packaging feels, how it opens, and immediately tells you something about the quality versus some type of a product that I just buy off of Amazon that fulfills a need of mine. It solves some type of a problem that I had at a price that I was willing to pay, but I don't really care about the quality of that product. It just needs to fulfill that purpose. It's probably not going to have that same quality type of packaging, but it fulfills my need. And so I don't expect the same level of experience as I do for a high ticket sales item. And so when we talk about this, it really comes down to being similar types of products, but different experiences. So in this image, you've got a standard milk chocolate bar versus a luxury tableau chocolate bar. And so which one feels like better quality and why? And why is always one of the things that I try to push my students to answer. And then they'll come up with some type of a response. Well, you've got the gold leaf flake, you've got the fancy decor on the packaging itself and the leaves of a cocoa plant versus just the plain chocolate brown background on the milk chocolate bar. So we start thinking about what is a product beyond just the thing that you're buying. It's obviously the item, but it's also the quality, it's the experience, it's the design of it, the packaging, the support, the value. It's what you feel when you purchase that item. What are customers actually paying for? Packaging definitely matters, and it's not all that's part of the product beyond just the item itself, but it is something that is of tangible understanding that is perceived value. So what do you notice first when you look at these very similarly branded items, which I'm not putting logos on for clearly trademark reasons here, but when you look at these items, where you can figure out the perceived value of this thing before ever even using the product. What does that packaging already tell you? Students will rattle off a bunch of different responses, and then we go into a packaging design challenge where my students in my class, most of them have a cell phone. Yes, we do have to put it up in a phone caddy, but I would, for an example product like this, I would allow them to bring the cell phone down, and then I'm going to give them a sheet of paper, and they have to come up with a design for a candy bar wrapper that is targeted towards high school students. And as long as it is school appropriate, the world is their oyster. It can be anything that they choose for it to be. It needs to be rough. The packaging needs to be roughly the size of a phone or a calculator. And so I give them the dimensions and I use a phone or calculator in case a student doesn't have a phone, then I can give them a calculator to wrap a piece of paper around. And they quite literally are wrapping a paper around their phone or calculator so that they're creating the packaging of the same size of a candy bar. They create the wrapper design, they name the candy bar, and then who it's designed specifically for. And at the end of it, we have to ask ourselves, what flavor is it? What would make somebody pick it up? What color fits the audience? And what would stand out on a shelf? And you have to think like a marketer to design this packaging. And then upon completion, I then look at this and I will come up with which one I believe is the best design for our target market, or perhaps actually an even better strategy depending on how much time you have. For me, I try not to run this more than multiple days. You could also do like a gallery walk where students go around and they actually cast their votes for which one they believe was the best in design or the best in target marketing and whatever other awards you might choose to do with that. We then shift over to the price. The price is going to be us discussing the general idea of costs involving the marketing concept behind the purchase of an item. So, with the smoothie, for example, we're using $4.99 versus $5. This is just typical consumer psychology of going through the idea of $4.99 sounds cheaper than $5. When we talk about this clothing hoodie, you've got one that's name brand that may not actually be that much better. I remember when Supreme and Champion had a collaboration and it cost a ton of money for you to buy that sweater. But back in my day, I used to go to Walmart and I'd buy a Champion sweater and it was, I don't know, like $6 or something like that. It was still the same sweater, but it now has a logo that has kind of a flex brand that is seemingly dead at this point on it. Milk. So when we talk about milk, we're looking at one that has more branding items on there that add to perceived value. Maybe it's non-GMO or organic or grass-fed, local dairy, certified farmer, fill in the blank, all the other things on there versus vitamin D milk, right? So you get a different price point on that. When we start talking about coffee, we're looking at drip coffee versus simple origin lattes. So we've got all kinds of fancy buzzwords that are going to go into that. Headphones, we've got the expensive ones versus the cheap earbuds. We're talking about the price point and how a business picks their price. We look at the cost, we look at the customer, we look at the competition and perceived value by that customer as well. So businesses are considering several key factors before ever deciding on a price. You need to come up with your own common pricing strategy because businesses use different pricing strategies depending on their goal. So it really comes down to what is your product and who is your customer? Are they people that have disposable income? Who is your target market? If you fully understand this, it'll put you in a more powerful position to determine your price. Now we need to come up with a price for our business. What will customers pay for what it is that you are selling and why? Now, if you're following my full semester curriculum, then you would want to use the business that you've been building all semester long. If you're a teacher just picking this up as an individual unit, then you would probably want to use a business of your own choosing for your students here, where they need to create either a menu, a pricing sheet, or a sales promotional flyer. And for this particular item, I would probably recommend using Canva Flyer Maker to create the design. I've included a link, which is hyperlinked to this image, as well as in the notes as well. I give you the criteria for what the project must include, which is 3 products or services, prices for each, at least 1 pricing strategy, and a short explanation here. Then we move over to the last piece of the 4 Ps, which is the place. Actually, just kidding. We have promotion after this. So where does the customer experience your business? This could be the physical location, the online location, the distribution, the accessibility. This is your storefront and location. It's the same business, but different interiors. You have the existing interior, and then I use AI in this case to redesign it for college students and a remote worker. I then have my students reimagine the customer experience for the business of their choosing that they are using for this semester, or in case you're doing it for just this unit here. If you are not an AI friendly school, which I completely understand, then you could have students just redraw the interior of the existing business. However, if you are an AI friendly school, I would consider having your students write out an AI prompt, not only have them create the inside of the new location to meet their new target customer. I would encourage them, if they have the ability, to actually go to that location, take a picture of the interior, or if they can find one online, use it, take the logo they've created, figure out the target market, and have AI recreate the image so that it is a replication of what it is that you would hope that this new business would have. And I also have my students submit their AI prompt, because this shows me the input that created the output, so the AI is not just a replacement of their brain, but rather it is them showing how they can use their intellect to prompt. Last up is promotion. What is promotion? It's how your business gets attention. They use promotion to get attention, build interest, increase sales, and stay memorable. The best promotions are clear, targeted, and easy to act on. It needs to have that clear message. You need to know your customer, get attention, and have a call to action, meaning tell the customer what to do next. Which promotion works the best? This is going to be something where they look at it and they say, obviously, it's promotion A, it's more with the times, B is outdated. I then have them discuss which one catches their eye, which would make them more likely to buy it or try it, and why do they think one works better than the other. I then give my students the worksheet where they come up with the promotion for their business. It's front-sided and back-sided, and this will take them through the remainder of that period. And in summary, I have my students think about marketing being everywhere. You can't get away from it. It's on the top of my hat. It's on my watch. It's everywhere that we go. The product, the price, the place, and promotion. Every choice that a business makes affects how customers perceive it, value it, and decide whether or not to buy. Marketers cannot control everything, but they can control the power of the 4 Ps of product, price, place, and promotion. When these 4 pieces of business work together, they can reach the right customer, build strong relationships, and create lasting success. I appreciate you watching through this video. If you have any questions, do reach out to me on any of my socials. And thank you for teaching what I believe to be the most valuable classes on campus.